What's up, guys? Amy filming another podcast episode. If you're new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you aren't like a YouTube girly, my podcast is also available on Spotify and also Apple Podcasts. I literally glitch. I don't know if I'm liking this setup, but make sure you check out my socials, everything linked down below. Like and comment on my other videos. It helps me out a lot, and turn your post notifications. So the day that I'm filming this, it's actually a Christmas day, and it was actually pretty chill. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty chill. I was going for this one at first because I felt like this was like more of a cool like vibe, but I'm gonna get tired of it in a minute. So we're gonna be talking about my first situationship, because I was watching this video of this girl talking about her situationship, and it was a year old, but I was like, wait, I technically had one from 2022, and it wasn't the most horriblest thing. I will say I do talk about him from time to time, even though we haven't spoken to each other in years at this point, but I did find him very fond. I was very fond of him, is what I would say. Do we like this? I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of have a headache right now. I think this is better because this is more softer and not so like, ooh, you know what I mean? So I do have a little bit of headache. I was kind of dozing off earlier and I took a nap, and I woke up really feeling dizzy for some reason. I was like, what the hell is this about? And my throat, I felt like it was filled with like acid, like my GERD was coming back. And I was like, huh, let's not do that, because that was very traumatic. I'm not gonna lie, because my GERD was triggered really badly a couple months ago. I made a whole TikTok video about it because I was feeling greedy one night and I was eating candy, and sometimes I eat food in the middle of the night just so I can salivate my glands, because I wake up feeling so dry, and since I live in a desert, like I feel dry all the time, and my allergies get really worse. Like they've been really bad lately. I mean, they're always kind of bad, but like I feel like as of lately it's been bad. I think because I've been in the house a lot, and I feel like it gets worse when I'm in the house a lot because of all the dog hair and the guinea pig hair all over the house, so, and all the dust. So one of these days I want to like take time to dust, because I did want to put that on my agenda, and the last time I generally dusted was when my mom went to Utah back in September. So that's the last time I generally remember dusting, because I was like, I can't deal with all this dust, and I didn't realize how dusty the fans were. It was just really gross, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I think also I think I have a headache because I have a lot of like sinus pressure right here. It feels like a lot of pressure right here, and I think it's because of my allergies, because I do blow my nose a lot, and I'm really trying not to do it a lot, but it does take a lot out of me when I do it, because I just don't know what to do. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm trying not to breathe through my mouth a lot, because I noticed that I'm a huge mouth breather now ever since my allergies have gotten worse, and they've only gotten really bad when we got my dog Storm. I've noticed it rather quickly because she was spending a lot of time with me when we first got her, because we were separating both of the dogs because we didn't know if she had any like diseases or anything, so we were separating them. So she spent a lot of time in my room, and I noticed like my nose was getting really stuffy. This is like when we first got her, like my nose was so stuffed up that like people were bringing me tissues when I was at school, because I sounded really crazy and my nose was like filled with mucus. Like that's how bad it was. So then I decided to go to like urgent care, because I was reading about how like if your allergies get really bad, you might need like an inhaler, and I was like, well, I can't breathe, maybe I do need an inhaler. So I went to the urgent care, and then they were like, you don't need an inhaler, you just need allergy pills. I took the allergy pills. I'm on Montelukast right now, and I've been on it for 2 years, but I will say it was working for the first year, but now it's just like it doesn't really work for me anymore, and I don't want to be on the shots because they don't work either apparently. So I just really need to find other ways, because like I've tried natural ways, I've tried everything, and I'm just really miserable. So I even bought like a humidifier, even though I'm kind of scared of it, because technically like you're not really supposed to have them when you have, like you're supposed to have them away from guinea pig cages, and since they're moved over here now, I think I have a chance of having one, and I don't think they'll get sick. But I do have to be really careful about it, because if I'm not careful about it and I'm not like having air ventilating, I'm worried that they'll get like a respiratory infection from it, because it's a lot of like fluid in the air, and I heard that it's not like too good for them. But I don't know what to do, because I don't know if I want to put it in my mom's room and use it from there, or I want to keep it in here. You know what I mean? Because I have a better chance of feeling like more at ease if I use it in my mom's room versus my room, because they're always in here. I'm very much off track, but I don't know what to do. I'm just very much off track, but it's been bothering me a lot, because I do miss breathing from my nose, and I really can't, because it kind of hurts because of how dry it is in there. And it's just very, very uncomfortable to live like this, just constant this, and I can't breathe in the middle of the night, and it's just very uncomfortable for me to sleep because I can't breathe. Like, how is this supposed to be comfortable? Like, I don't think that anyone understands how uncomfortable it is to have allergies. And I knew it was like a hereditary thing, because my dad has really bad allergies, and he's constantly taking medicine for it, and he's doing these like sinus rinses all the time, and that was working for me too for a while. But then it kind of just was like, this isn't working for me either. I've tried so many things that I'm just kind of like, I don't know what to do. Like, maybe I need to clean more, like vacuum my room more. Back to my story time. So we're gonna be talking about my situationship from 2022. So technically we met on a dating app, and he reached out to me through a dating app, and he reached out to me like early in the year, I think like April or something of 2022. But something happened, and we both kind of fell off from each other, and we stopped talking, right? I don't know what happened. We just kind of like did our own thing. From his profile, it was mostly like, you know, he wants someone to chill with, someone like something casual. And I was kind of like trying to get more experience with dating, and I was just kind of like trying to experience. I just wanted to experiment more with myself with dating and stuff, and because I didn't really have a lot of dating experience from high school to now. So I was like, let me start like kind of, you know, 2022 was a year of me saying yes, and I was hanging out with a lot of different dudes around that year. But yeah, anyway, so we fell off, we stopped talking in earlier the year, and then he reached out to me again towards like the summer-ish, and he wanted to hang out. Prior to all this, we never hung out before. We were just texting, but it was very brief from what I remember. And then we hung out. The first time we hung out, it was by my house, and it was at the park at my house, because that's like my first hangout, just to get to know someone, because I don't really want to go somewhere right off the bat, because I think honestly the reason why I tell them to go to the park is because if I just go somewhere, they're gonna flake and ghost. Because there has been a time where when I was like 19 years old where I was waiting for this dude for like 50 minutes, like maybe even longer than that, for a supposed date, and I even made a whole video about it. But he I had to wait for him for so long, and this is a time where I didn't really understand about dating. I thought it was a common courtesy to be waiting for him, but my parents waited with me, and he finally came, but it was like nearing the time where it was gonna close. So I have a lot of trauma from that, because I was just like, well, I just need to know, like, it could happen at any given time, but if it's by my house, I'm like, oh well, I can just walk home. We hung out, we were talking about like life stuff. I got to know like a little bit of his background, and I found out that his name was a mixture of both of his parents' name, which I never met anyone that had that before. He wasn't like a junior, he was just like, his name was like both of his parents' names, and it came out to be this name that I've never heard of before. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. I thought it was a cute story, but his name is just not really like cute to me when I would say it, or whenever I would talk about him to my mom, and she's like, who names their kid that? And I would tell her, because she would forget a lot. Like, okay, so it's one of those like situations where you have to wrap the cord around so you could change the lighting, which I find really insane. But I might have to buy a new one, because this one's kind of like on the fritz, because it's kind of already changing. So anyways, so yeah, so the second date was at a sushi place by his house. he picked it. It was really cool because it was like inspired by California, and since he knew I was from California, it was very like cool to me personally. But I do remember the first time we hung out, we talked about dating experiences, and he didn't really have a lot, even though he's 2 years older than me. He didn't have a girlfriend ever. He's only like hooked up with people. And I felt like, honestly, right off the bat, I should have known that he had like anxious attachment or avoidance. I'd say he had like huge avoidance issues, because I did want to know why he never had been in a stable relationship. You know what I mean? By the way, I do get tested. I do get tested for STDs. Like, don't come for me. I don't know what he does on his spare time, but I just know that I'm just worried about me, and that's just what it is. So we hung out at the sushi place, and it was really chill. The food was really, really good. I do remember having like a really fun time, and I remember taking pictures of our food. And then he was like, oh, do you want to hang out at my place? He had an apartment, and it's really crazy because like the sushi place was there, and then his apartment was across the street, and then his job is right there, all within like a 2-minute radius, like walking. So I was like, oh my god. He was a manager at a warehouse, so it was great to have someone to talk to that wasn't in the military, because everyone that I do talk to that is from the dating app is always in the military. And he was from Louisiana, and he didn't have like a country accent, I will say. He sounded just very like dead inside to me. He didn't show a lot of emotions, is what I'll say. But I think it's honestly because of what he's gone through in his life. I don't remember what exactly he went through, but I just remember we had like deep talks about that stuff. So I think something about his dad, like he didn't really know his dad, so like when you see him, you're like, oh my god, he's like so cold. But I think honestly, if I spent more time with him, I would get to really know him. But yeah, anyways. So we go to his house, and he puts on like Powerpuff Girls for me. I didn't tell him that I liked that show. He just put it on. I see his apartment. It's like dark. It's dark in there, even though it's like daylight outside. And it was clean. It was a very nice apartment. Like his apartment complex was really nice, and it was my first time going there. And normally I would be kind of hesitant to go to people's houses like after the second date, but I felt this weird feeling that like I could be around him, so I was like, let me hang out with him, you know what I mean? So we hung out, we talked for a while, and I do remember him napping in the midst of us hanging out. He was tired. So there was that. There wasn't really much to say. Like his house was clean, like it was a nice thing. He didn't have any pets. He wasn't fond of like having pets, but he wasn't like, he liked pets, but he didn't like having them, is what I remember. So there was that. Which is crazy because like at the time I had quite a few animals. So yeah, like he would have been like, oh my god, you know what I mean? He's never been in my house. That part I was kind of like, I don't know why we didn't, because my mom was actually like totally okay with it, but I think there was a point where I was kind of embarrassed. I think I was embarrassed, and I think what made me embarrassed is because he already had a crib of his own, and I still lived with my parents, and he knew of this. He wasn't judgmental about it, but some people are really judgmental about it. But I don't know if y'all been on that side of TikTok where there was people, well, one specific dude was like, if you live with your mom or any of your parents, you shouldn't be dating because you should be focused on moving out. And I saw this video like a couple months ago, but I just remember feeling really insecure about that because I didn't have a place of my own. I was still getting my life together, and I was just like figuring myself out at that time. In that point in time, I haven't even started school at that time, so it was like literally the year after I started school. I mean, the year after the next year I started school is what I'm trying to say. I don't know why I'm phrasing it weird, but anyways, so yeah, so I remember him being really cool about it, and he's like, I don't like care about that stuff, you know what I mean? But sometimes it's just really awkward, you know what I mean? Like doing certain things because the walls are very thin and you can hear every little thing that's going on. A time where like he was like, oh, do you want to like, you know, be intimate? And I'm not gonna lie to you, okay? I didn't really have sexual experiences. The experience that I had that was sexual before him was not even consensual. So he was the first person I technically lost my virginity to. And I never told him that because I didn't want him to be freaked out by it, because a lot of people feel like they hold that responsibility of, oh my god, you know, like I didn't want to tell him because I just was like, why would I want to tell him? I remember feeling really stiff, feeling really uncomfortable, but I did want to do it. And I'm like, I don't know why I have these issues with that, but I was like, I want to have a fun sexual experience that isn't traumatic. I want it to be fun. That's what I was thinking in my head. And as long as I'm okay with it and both parties are consenting to it, it's fine. You know what I mean? So we had sex, but it was very short and brief because I was so, like, my body was clenching on the inside. Stopped. And then we just ended up just kind of cuddling the rest of the time. But what I liked about him, honestly, was that he taught me things. It wasn't even on some sexual shit. He was very handsome. Like, I will give him that. But he was also, he had like a degree. He was a manager. Like, he was really like on his shit, you know what I mean? And I just remember feeling so insecure about it because I didn't have anything to, you know, like, I didn't have anything to brag about myself at that time. I just remember at that time I did have like a small business, but that's all I would tell people, like, oh, I have a YouTube, oh, I have a small business, and that's what people would talk about. And but I did have that insecurity in the back of my mind, like, I should be able to tell people my accomplishments. And I was out of high school for 5 years or so at this point, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I was experimenting with a small business, I was experimenting with YouTube, but it was quite boring, I will say. Like, having nothing to do all day, like, it wasn't like fun. So we hung out at weird times because of his schedule. But at this time also, I do want to mention this, I was hanging out with another dude at the same time I was hanging out with him. So I was dating 2 men at the same time. Kind of slipped up one time and I said I was hanging out with someone else too, to my now ex. And I remember one time where I was hanging out at his place and I saw, like, my phone was way near the TV, so it was very far away from me. And I remember him like calling my phone like a few times, and I didn't know what that was about. Like, we were calling each other, but it wasn't a lot. So I think honestly, the second that he found out that there was another man involved and that I wasn't obligated to anyone, I wasn't in a relationship with anyone, so I could do whatever I wanted. But now that I'm looking at it, I think that he felt competition of the other guy. And the thing is, like, my ex wanted a relationship and the guy that I had a situationship didn't want a relationship, and I was very much aware of that, even though it hurt me on the inside, because I would tell him, like, are you sure you don't want a relationship? And he's like, yeah, but like, you don't know what a relationship is, so how do you know if you don't want it? You know what I mean? So I don't know, like, I did like that he taught me things, and I don't feel like a lot of people do. And I remember us having like deep talks about our parents, and I remember, like, we both have like abandonment issues, kind of, so we would talk about that. And it's not something that you talk about with just anyone, but for some reason I felt safe enough to talk about that. And I just remember laying on his bed and being like, yo, what are dads for? And he's like, I think they're supposed to teach you things. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. What are they supposed to teach you? And like we were having like shit talk, like talking about that. And I just remember just feeling so like at ease. And I remember like he drove me home, and I remember like complaining about his driving because he drove kind of slow, but also like he told me why he did it, and I was like, I understand, but it's also like not safe to do that. I'm pretty sure he was going the speed limit, but I just felt like there was times where he was going too slow, where I was like, girl, what are you doing? But I honestly, I will say that I did like dating two men at the same time, because they both had different schedules, so I could hang out with them at different times. But I just feel like, you know, I was sad that we didn't really get to hang out a lot, because there was a point where he was like, oh, I'm gonna go back to Louisiana, and so I made the decision to stop talking to him, because I was like, well, if he's going back to Louisiana, then he's gonna forget about me. He's not gonna talk to me anymore. So it's like, why continue talking if he's going back to his home state, you know what I mean? So I was just like, okay, like I understand. I think at the time, I think it was a definitive answer. I don't know if it was a thought, something that he was kind of thinking about, but if you think about it, he was completely alone, and I don't know how he even wound up in this town. He told me a story about it, but I completely forgot about it. Like, I can't even tell you right now because I don't remember. But he has a lot of family out there, so it makes sense for him to go back there. You know what I mean? If you have a good relationship with your family, I understand, but I don't know. So I stopped talking to him when he said that, because even though I didn't want to, but I was just like, you know, I don't even know how he ended it. Honestly, I really don't know. I really don't know. I just know that we stopped talking at some point, and I think it was just right after he was saying like, I want to go back to Louisiana. But I do remember feeling very at peace with him for some reason. It wasn't like I knew what it was. There wasn't like any sugarcoating. There wasn't like any gaslighting. There wasn't any leading me on. It was just hanging out and being casual. Like, it was just that. And I loved talking to him a lot. I didn't like texting him though, because he was a very dry texter. But like, I remember like being so excited to see him every time he would like come up on my neighborhood. I remember being so geeked over it, because he had like, I don't know, I loved how he carried himself. He's both, honestly, even my ex-boyfriend is very smart, but I don't know, like they were very different people, and it was nice to experiment those two different people to know what I liked and didn't like. But since he was going back to Louisiana, I decided to like focus more on now my ex-boyfriend, so we started hanging out more. And I don't know, like it was there up from there, but it wasn't like, at the time that I think about it, like it seemed like super chill. But I feel like the second that we got into a relationship, everything changed. Like he wasn't really hanging out with me as much anymore, and I only had to hang out with him during the weekends. But when we were dating, he was hanging out with me like during the week. It wasn't just the weekend. So it was like really weird. So I was like, I don't know, like now that I'm thinking about it, he probably felt like he was in competition with him. And I'm hoping that when he first decided to ask me out as his girlfriend, that he felt like it was for good intention and not you know, not like some insecure bullshit, because I don't like that, honestly. But my mom always tells me that she feels like I literally loved him, like my situationship, and I don't really know, because I don't really know what love is. I don't really know what it is to be in love with someone. I know that I had love for people that I've dated, but I don't know what it's like to be in love, because I never get to that point where I can figure that out. So I can't really tell you, but I just remember feeling so like, I don't know, at ease. I don't have to feel like, oh my god, I have to keep my guard up all the time. I don't feel like I really had my guard up with him. And it happened rather quickly. When I think about it now, normally it takes me a really long time to get past that version of me, but for some reason I felt like comfortable enough to do all that. And there's times where it's gonna sound really crazy, it really will, but there's times where I kind of wish that he reached out to me, but I don't know if he has a girlfriend. I don't know anything about his life because he's not a social media person. So I don't know, because when he unfollowed me like 2 years ago, I was so sad. It was either last year or the year before, I can't remember, but I was so fucking sad about it. I was more sad about that than when my ex-boyfriend unfollowed me after our breakup. And he followed me months and months after our breakup. So I was like, and we weren't even talking, bro. We weren't even talking, and he was just constantly watching my stories after we broke up. And for some reason that didn't bother me. Well, it bothered me a little bit, but it didn't to the extent where it bothered me with the other guy, if that makes sense. I really don't know why, because I was with my ex-boyfriend for a year, barely a year, and for some reason, like, that didn't bother me. I don't know, but it's just, I don't know, like, I've heard some really crazy stories about people's situationships, and it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, and it sounds like people go through real mental shit with it, but it felt like, you know, like the last ending, like the second part of Waves. That's what it felt like. Very like romantic and shit, you know what I mean? And there wasn't even a lot happening. There wasn't a lot of shit happening. It wasn't like I was sleeping over at his house. It wasn't any of that. For some reason, like, I don't know if I would. I think over time I probably would, but like, it was great. It was great. I think I would do it one time just to say I did, but I don't know if I could do that. I don't think I'm grown enough for that, because even my ex-boyfriend has slept over like a couple of times, and it would freak me out having someone in my bed, like waking up and I'm like seeing a grown man in my bed, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, who is that? And I'm like, I guess one time, I guess I didn't know that he was there, and he told me in the morning about this, like the next morning, and he's like, hey, there was a little incident last night. And I was like, incident? With who? And he's like, oh, with you. You were punching me and shit, like really like beating me up. And I took, to this day, I don't know if he was doing that just to say he was, like, I don't know if that was real, because I was sleepwalking, whatever. But I guess we had a full conversation. He's like, are you okay? And he was restraining me, I guess, restraining me from hitting him or whatever. And he was like, are you okay? And I flipped him off, and then I went back to bed. And I was like, that does seem really, really specific. I don't know. I don't think I said anything to him. I don't remember like if I said anything, but I do remember, like, I don't remember anything, honestly. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't remember anything, but it doesn't seem out of the norm. But I think that was like the second time he slept over at my house. So I was like, I don't understand why that didn't happen the first time, but it happened the second time. But I do feel like it was just very uncomfortable for me to have someone sleeping in my bed. And that was like something that I was trying to get used to. And it wasn't happening a lot. That was the last time he slept over at the house. He's only done it 2 times, but after the second time, I don't recall him ever doing it again, because I think he was like low-key traumatized. And I remember asking him, like, hey, are you gonna sleep over again? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm just like, why? Like, was it really that bad? But anyways, yeah, but I don't know, I look back on it very fondly. Honestly, it wasn't even toxic at all. I just know that there was a huge part of me that wanted a relationship with him, but I knew what I was getting into when I was hanging out with him. But there was just like this huge part of me that was like, oh my god, I wish that it worked out, because I feel like it would have worked out. But I do feel like he does need to work on his communication skills, because that's something that he did lack in. So, but who doesn't? Because even I suck at communication a lot too, and I have a problem with ghosting. Like, I'm really kind of like, I don't know, I think I'm a lot worse now, because I think that since I have been kind of focusing on myself a lot, that I have like a lot of avoidance issues, and I'm very anxious about dating now. And I think honestly I'm a little bit like traumatized from my last relationship. It wasn't the most worst thing in the world, but there was a lot of things that did need to be worked on. There was things that he did that I didn't like, and it was a lot of things. And the way that it ended was very odd. It wasn't even like a formal breakup text. It just sounded like, well, I'm gonna be deployed, and I don't know if I want to be in a relationship when I'm deployed. So, and it was like this long paragraph about it. And actually it was small. And it sounded like he was just telling me. It didn't sound like a breakup at first. So I'm just like, okay. I was just very confused. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I think he's breaking up with me, but I don't think he knows how to do it. So honestly, there's a lot of things that I had to learn from that relationship, because I think honestly, from the get-go, the second that we like agreed to be in a relationship, like I feel like he started showing signs of being scared of being in a relationship, and I think he's afraid of a commitment. Because the second that we got into a relationship with each other, he stopped opening up to me. He just became this like cardboard of a human. So I'm just like, girl, like what is happening? Like what is happening? And I was telling my mom like the little things that I knew about him, but technically I dated him for a year, but I didn't really know him like that. Like, yeah, we hung out every weekend, but he wasn't deep with me anymore. And I don't know if he felt like he had to, because that's just what you do. But the second that I decided to be his girlfriend, he just was completely closed off. Like, he didn't talk about his parents. I didn't get to know his parents. His parents didn't even know about me, which kind of like bothered me a lot. I wanted to meet them, even though they live in Florida. I wanted to meet them at least over the phone. And he's just like, oh, I don't do all that. What do you mean you don't do all that? We're in a relationship. So there's so many things to learn, because I find it's just formal. Like, you're supposed to meet the parents when you're in a relationship with your kid. So I'm just like, I don't understand why he was gatekeeping that. Like, he didn't post me. He wasn't big on posting on social media. The one time he posted was when he was in Houston, and he posted like an arena, and that was that. I still don't even understand what that trip was about. Like, he drank a little bit, even though he didn't drink, but he wasn't like, he said that nothing was going on over there. He just was like chilling over there. It was just like a random trip with his friends or whatever. But I just am like, and he was very vague about his answers. Like, if I asked him like, oh, what happened at work, it was fine. I'm just not into that. I'm sorry, but no, I'm not into that. Like, you don't have to give me a whole like spiel about work, but I do like conversations. And with my situationship, we constantly had so many conversations about nothing. And that's the thing, like, I don't think he was annoyed about me blabbering about nothing. And I feel like people get annoyed with me blabbering, and I don't know why, because like I thought it was a good thing that it's good to talk about things, but for some people they don't like talking. I don't know why, but a lot of people don't like talking. And once I started getting comfortable with talking to people, they're like, oh my god, you're so fucking annoying. Excuse me? Excuse me? I didn't know that was annoying. I knew I do annoying things, but I didn't know I was annoying because I talked. So, and I felt like my ex found me annoying. I think he did. And I'm surprised he didn't say it, but I'm pretty sure he found me annoying. And I don't feel like my situationship found me annoying. So, to be fair, if he was like, oh, I want a relationship, I would have probably went with him. If I'm being honest here, I think I would have went with him. And I'm not saying that I was settling with my ex, but I did start liking him. I liked them both. I had feelings for both of them. So it's like, it was crazy. It was a very crazy time to be living in. Personally, I don't think I'll ever have that experience ever again. My camera's dying. I'm gonna go lay down because I've been sitting on this floor forever. But make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you want to hear more crazy story times. I don't know if I have any more, but I'll try to think of some. I'll see you guys next week. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Thank you for being a good supporter. And yeah, bye guys.